Michael Jordan's North Shore mansion is finally under contract after more than a decade.
Have you ever thought about what happens to mansions once celebrities move out? You might think they always sell quickly due to their size and luxury, but that's not always true. In fact, some of the most extravagant celebrity homes end up sitting on the market for years, unable to find a buyer. Whether it's because of the hefty price tag, high maintenance, or the sheer size, these properties often become burdens instead of assets. In this video, we'll explore some of the most famous abandoned celebrity mansions that no one wants to buy. Nicolas Cage's spooky mansion in New Orleans. Owning a house with a chilling history is not something many people would choose, but for Nicolas Cage, that became a reality when he purchased the LaLaurie mansion in New Orleans. This wasn't an ordinary property. It was closely tied to the notorious Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a woman from the 1800s infamous for her cruel treatment of slaves. Stories of strange noises and ghostly apparitions have long surrounded the mansion, adding to its eerie allure. Located in the heart of the French Quarter, the mansion has long been considered one of the most haunted places in the United States, drawing curious onlookers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Cage, known for his extravagant spending habits and wide-ranging film roles, was likely drawn to the mansion because of its dark and intriguing past. Some say he was fascinated by the house's connection to the supernatural, while others believe it was simply another bold purchase in his eccentric lifestyle. In 2007, he decided to buy it, but just 2 years later, his financial troubles began to surface. By 2009, the property was taken by the bank due to his inability to maintain it, marking a sharp turn in his fortune. Despite the house's fascinating history, selling it became a significant challenge. The combination of its haunted reputation and the poor economic climate made it a difficult sale for many interested buyers. This situation shows how even the most captivating properties can become burdens, both due to the weight of their history and the financial struggles they bring with them. Mike Tyson's Connecticut mansion. Mike Tyson, at one time the king of the boxing world, had a mansion that was as grand as his reputation. Located in Southington, Connecticut, this mansion stretched over 50,000 square feet and included luxuries like 18 bedrooms, an indoor swimming pool, a nightclub, and a basketball court. This was during the heights of his career when he was known all over for his prowess in the ring. However, towards the late 90s, Tyson faced serious financial issues that forced him to sell the mansion. Despite its opulence and the various luxury features, finding a buyer was no easy task. The mansion was too personalized, too tailored to Tyson's unique lifestyle, making it difficult for others to see themselves living there. Over the years, it's been listed for sale multiple times, each time seeing a drop in its price after failing to secure a buyer at a reasonable loss. This story shows how even the most impressive homes can become difficult to manage and sell if they're too customized to the owner's taste. Kenny Rogers' Grand Georgia Mansion. Kenny Rogers, the legendary country music singer, had a large estate in Georgia, complete with guest houses, a golf course, and horse stables. This sprawling property was a little slice of paradise tucked away from the city's noise. Despite all its amenities, the estate was hard to sell. Its remote location made it less appealing to many, and the cost of keeping such a vast place running didn't help either. It stayed on the market for a long time, waiting for the right buyer who could appreciate its value and manage its upkeep. Imagine living in a place where you could play golf anytime you wanted right in your backyard, or go horseback riding without ever leaving your property. That was the kind of life Kenny Rogers' estate offered. However, the very things that made it special also made it hard to sell. It was far from everyday conveniences like stores, schools, and offices. The upkeep alone, keeping the golf greens pristine and the stables clean, cost a pretty penny. For years, the mansion sat on the market. Interested buyers were few and far between, likely deterred by the high maintenance costs and the secluded nature of the estate. Finally, it sold for a price much lower than what one might expect for such a grand place. This situation illustrates the difficulties of selling a large, isolated property. No matter how beautiful or well-equipped it is, if the location isn't right or if it requires too much work and money to maintain, finding a buyer can be a real challenge. Bert Reynolds' luxurious Florida estate. Bert Reynolds, a well-known Hollywood star, owned a magnificent estate called Valhalla, located near Hobe Sound, Florida. Built in 1979, this massive 12,500 square foot home was a true gem. It featured a private movie theater, a gym, and a helicopter pad, all spread out over 3.4 acres of beachfront land. But even with all these impressive features, the estate was hard to sell. The house was designed to be a haven for a celebrity like Reynolds, providing privacy and luxury. However, the very features that made it perfect for him didn't appeal to a broad market. The old-fashioned layout and the high costs associated with maintaining such a large property made it less attractive to potential buyers. As Reynolds faced financial difficulties, he was forced to sell the mansion in 2015. Despite its beautiful location and luxurious amenities, the mansion repeatedly struggled to find a buyer. It was put on the market several times, each time with a lowered price. Finally, it sold for $3.3 million, a stark contrast to its initial $15 million asking price. This significant drop in price shows the challenges of selling large, outdated properties that require a lot of money to renovate and maintain. Valhalla's story is a cautionary tale about real estate. Even the most luxurious properties can become a burden if they don't meet the current needs and tastes of the market. Potential buyers were likely turned off by the old design and the daunting prospect of updating such a large home. The tale of this estate shows that even homes in prime locations can languish on the market if they are not modernized and if the upkeep is too expensive. Aaron Spelling's massive Holmby Hills mansion. Imagine a mansion so big it has its own beauty salon, movie theater, bowling alley, and even a museum for dolls. This was the reality for Aaron Spelling, a famous television producer who built one of the largest homes in Los Angeles, known as The Manor. Located in the upscale neighborhood of Holmby Hills, this mansion spans 56,500 square feet and includes 123 rooms. After Spelling passed away in 2006, his wife, Candy Spelling, decided to sell this enormous home. However, finding a buyer for such a gigantic and specialized property proved to be a real challenge. The size and the upkeep needed for such a luxurious and expansive estate made it a hard sell. The annual costs just to maintain the place were staggering, not to mention the need for a large staff to manage its various features. It was initially put on the market for a whopping $150 million, reflecting its grandeur and the investment Spelling had made into making it a home that was out of this world. But despite its glamour and the unique features that set it apart, the mansion did not sell quickly. It remained on the market for years, as potential buyers were likely intimidated by the sheer scale of the property and the ongoing expenses it would entail. Finally, in 2011, the mansion found a new owner. British heiress Petra Ecclestone saw the value in this lavish property and purchased it for $85 million, significantly less than the initial asking price. This sale highlighted how even the most extraordinary homes can be difficult to sell when they are too big and come with high maintenance demands. Spelling's mansion is a perfect example of how unique, custom-built luxury homes can exceed the practical needs and financial reach of most buyers, making them tough to sell in the regular real estate market. Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. Neverland Ranch was more than just a home. It was a reflection of Michael Jackson's imagination and dreams. Located in the Santa Ynez Valley of California, this 2,700-acre estate wasn't just a place to live, but a personal amusement park that included a zoo, a theater, and rides. It was a magical place that perfectly mirrored Jackson's whimsical and extravagant lifestyle. However, after Jackson's death in 2009, Neverland Ranch faced numerous challenges that made it hard to sell. The property's vast size and the significant cost of upkeep were major hurdles. Managing a zoo and maintaining amusement rides are not only costly, but require constant attention and a specialized team. Moreover, the ranch's association with Jackson's complicated legacy added another layer of difficulty in selling it. Initially listed for $100 million, the price was repeatedly reduced over the years, reflecting the challenges in finding a buyer willing to take on such a unique and demanding property. In 2020, billionaire Ron Burkle purchased the ranch for just $22 million, a fraction of the original asking price. This drastic reduction in price shows how challenging the market can be for properties that are closely tied to a celebrity, especially one as iconic as Jackson. Neverland was not just a home, but a piece of pop culture history, which required more than just financial investment to maintain. It needed a vision that aligned with its legacy. The story of Neverland Ranch illustrates how unique properties, while beautiful and filled with amenities, can become burdensome to sell due to their specialized nature and the high costs associated with their upkeep. R. Kelly's Chicago home. In the quiet town of Olympia Fields, Illinois, there's a big house that used to belong to R. Kelly. Imagine a place so big it's like a small village. This house covers 18,500 square feet. That's huge, right? It's got 6 bedrooms where you could sleep, 8 bathrooms, a pool inside the house, a private lake where you could row a boat, and even a place to play basketball. R. Kelly bought this giant house back in the 90s when he was doing really well in his music career. But as years went by, he ran into some serious legal and money problems. These problems grew so big that he had to sell his massive home in 2013. It's kind of sad when you think about it, having to give up something you once loved because things went downhill. When it was time to sell, the house wasn't easy to get off his hands. Why? Well, because of R. Kelly's issues with the law, not many people wanted to buy it. They probably didn't want a house that came with that kind of history. So the price had to be cut down a lot. It was first priced at $5 million, but no one was biting. It stayed on the market for a long time, and they kept dropping the price more and more. Finally, after several tries and big price drops, someone bought it in 2019 for just $1.7 million. That's a lot less than the original price. It just goes to show how tough it can be to sell a house that has some not-so-good stories tied to it, even if it's as fancy as this one. Selena Dion's Florida Water Park Mansion. Now let's talk about a truly unique house, the former mansion of Selena Dion located in Jupiter Island, Florida. This wasn't just any mansion, it was like having an amusement park in your backyard. The property spread out over 5.7 acres right next to the water, and the main house was 10,000 square feet big. What made it super special was its own water park. Yes, you heard that right, a water park. It had several swimming pools, a lazy river to float around on a hot day, and even water slides. Imagine having such fun stuff right where you live. Besides the water park, there was also a small house for guests, a place to play golf, and a tennis court. Selena Dion tried to sell this amazing place in 2013 for $72.5 million. But here's the thing, it was so over the top with its water park and other fancy features, it was hard to find someone to buy it. The upkeep alone, keeping all those pools clean and running, would cost a fortune. Years went by and the mansion didn't sell. The price was just too high for most people, and the fact that it was so different made it even harder to sell. But finally, in 2017, someone bought it for $28 million. That's a lot of money, but it was still way less than the original asking price. This story is a good example of how sometimes even the coolest, most exciting homes can be too much for most people to handle. It's not just about having enough money to buy it. It's also about being able to keep up with all the costs and work it takes to maintain such a place. Whitney Houston's New Jersey home. In a quiet part of Mendham, New Jersey, stood the mansion of the famous singer Whitney Houston. Imagine living in a house so large that it spans 12,500 square feet. That's huge, isn't it? Built in 1987, this massive house had everything you could dream of. A recording studio where Whitney made her music, a pool to swim in on hot days, 5 bedrooms to choose from, and 6 bathrooms. Whitney lived in this home for over 15 years. It was her personal retreat, her space to create and live. However, as her personal and financial troubles grew, the care for the mansion slipped away. It's sad to think about, but the house fell into disrepair. It wasn't the bright and vibrant place it once was. When Whitney passed away in 2012, her beautiful home was put up for sale. But here's the thing, selling it turned out to be really difficult. The style of the house, which was perfect in the 80s, seemed outdated by then. Also, because the house was known as the place where Whitney had many troubles, not many people wanted to buy it. They probably didn't want a house with such a sad story behind it. Year after year, the mansion sat empty. It was on the market for a long time, and the price kept dropping in hopes of finding a buyer. Initially listed for $2.5 million, the price had to be cut significantly over the years. Finally, in 2014, someone decided to buy it. but only for $1.5 million. That's $1 million less than the starting price. This situation shows how hard it can be to sell a house that's not only physically aged, but also carries a heavy emotional legacy. It's a reminder that a home is not just made of walls and roofs, but also of the memories and the atmosphere that live within. Whitney Houston's mansion, with all its grandeur and history, was a dream house turned tough sell, reflecting how personal setbacks can overshadow even the most luxurious of properties. Michael Jordan's Highland Park estate. Let's talk about a really big house, Michael Jordan's mansion in Highland Park, a suburb of Chicago. This place is enormous, covering 56,000 square feet. That's like having your own little village. The mansion boasts 15 bathrooms, 9 bedrooms, a tennis court, a special room just for smoking cigars, and a cellar dedicated to wine. It's not just a house, it's a palace. In 2012, Michael tried to sell this massive home for $29 million. But guess what? It's been over 10 years, and no one has bought it yet. Why, you might wonder? Well, the mansion is tailored just for Michael Jordan. It was built to suit all his specific likes and needs. While that sounds great, it also makes it hard for others to see themselves living there. Over the years, the price of the mansion has been cut down several times. They even tried to sell it at an auction in 2013, but no one placed a bid. It seems that the very things that make the mansion special to Michael Jordan are the things that make it difficult for others to want to buy it. Selling such a unique and personalized property is tough. Most people looking for a home want a place that feels like it could be theirs, not like they're living in someone else's space. Michael's mansion, with all its luxury and personal touches, stands as a prime example of how difficult it can be to find a buyer for a home that's too customized. This story of Michael Jordan's unsold mansion highlights a significant point. Bigger isn't always better, and more personal isn't always more appealing. It's a mansion that was built for a sports legend but has struggled to find its next owner, serving as a lesson in the real estate world about the challenges of selling highly customized celebrity homes. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. For more interesting videos, don't miss watching the next video that pop up on your screen now.